Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the Laughter Hours. I'm a little disjointed now because I messed up already first thing out of the get-go. Your favorite RCDD is here to answer your questions about design, installation, all the other stuff. Tonight, we got a special episode. I got several guests on tonight. We are going to discuss the BICSI Winter Conference that happened last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. It's starting to blur all together. So I've got some special guests. But before we do that, we got to do the acronym challenge. Here it comes. Ready? Acronym challenge. FSO. What does that acronym stand for? FSO. Put it in the chat box. Let me see if anybody gets this right. FSO. What does the acronym stand for? Oh, by the way, I got to do my usual acronym announcement. Please spay or neuter your acronyms. We have enough. We don't need any more. It's kind of ironic. I was in one of the Facebook groups today, and somebody called the TMGB and the TGB. And I just kind of said, hey, here's the new acronyms. And they're like, oh, no, great, more acronyms. Yeah, I get it. FSO, looking for the answer. Nobody? Okay, I'm going to have to give to everybody. Free space optics. What is free space optics? It's a low-power laser beam that's used for outdoor point-to-point, high-rate protocol independent transmissions, straight from the BICSI handbook. Because I've never done free space optics. Not me. I am not that good. I'm just an knuckle dragging cable guy. So like I said, we're here to talk to three guests tonight, one of which I wasn't really expecting because he told me he was on his way to hockey practice. So I wasn't really expecting him. So let's bring everybody in the room. This is probably going to mess up a little bit because I've never had this many guests at one time. So let's try this. Kaboom, boom, boom, boom. There we go. So we have obviously me, Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Mr. Sean Rep, the infamous Sean Rep from Instagram, TikTok fame. Todd Morris from BS with Todd and Brother Solutions. And obviously Mr. Jeff Day. How you doing, Mr. Jeff?
Good. I am on my way to hockey, but I turned around. I'm going to give you 15 minutes. I knew it was important, so I'm here.
You are the man. I appreciate that.
I know. That's why I did it.
So here's why I select these three guests, okay? Me, old timer, been to many, many BICSI conferences, manufacturer. BS with Todd, old guy, lots of BICSI conferences. Jeff Day, very first conference. He got fed by the fire hose for a few days there. And Sean Rep, first timer, and also BICSI Cabling Skills Challenge contender. So that's why I selected this whole round. So, Jeff, we'll start off with you since you said you're going to give me 15 minutes. What did you think of your first BICSI conference? Because you said you wanted to do the whole BICSI thing.
I did. And thank you for having me there. It was a real honor. It was very overwhelming. There was a lot to take in. There was a lot of, I guess when someone asks me what's the coolest thing that you saw, and I was like, did you guys know we're putting storage space on Mars or the moon? I was like, maybe Mars, who knows, right?
No, it was the moon.
It was the moon. Yeah, the moon. And it was so cool to be. I just felt like I was on the cutting edge of technology for 3 days, just like seeing, and then, Chuck and I went to a lot of different rooms that I'm sure a lot of people probably don't tuck themselves into, like a lot of the how different rules and regulations are formed and how committees are formed and stuff. So I really got to see behind the curtain. It was rad. It was really rad.
And just so you know, what Jeff's talking about there is the working group meetings. They have the standards work group meetings, the code work group meetings, transportation. You can go there. It's not because Jeff and I are special. You can go there as an observer. And that's what we did. We went there, and
if you didn't go, you missed out on some really good meals too. But that no. All jokes aside, they probably, when you thumb through the book, they probably weren't the ones that anybody really had circled, but they were the most informative for me, for sure. I got to see, really how. Very rarely do you get to actually see how standards are actually created. So It was really neat to see that process.
Sean, what'd you think of your first BICSI conference?
So unlike you guys, I had to work for it. I had to pull some cable. I had to splice some fiber. Had to test it. They wanted it done fast. So, yeah. Other than that, it was great.
I was working too.
Yeah.
I was creating content.
You didn't have somebody standing over you with a stopwatch, though.
I had me standing over you with the
Jeff
stopwatch.
might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I did. I said, Chuck, you've spent too long with this person.
It's funny you said that because I handed Jeff the stickers and I said, you need to keep me on track because I get distracted real easily. Right.
No, it was everything I thought it would be. Yeah. Plus more.
Mr. Todd, what'd you think about the conference?
Oh man, I mean, it's always good to get out. It's always good to see everybody. It's probably my 40th, 2 per year. It's really cool to see evolving technologies. I mean, my first BICSI, I think the IBM Type 1 cable is still the rage, And so it really is interesting every year to me. Number one, to see some old faces, right? But number two, to just see where this industry, when I started, and where it's at right now, and it's absolutely incredible. So, yeah, always a great time. I cannot complain about BICSI. So yeah, good stuff, man.
Yep. So Jeff already told us what his favorite thing was. That was obviously the data center on the moon presentation, right? Oh, BICSI just published at the end of the conference. They always do that 5-minute recap video. They just posted online today. And Jeff, remember when you and I hugged because the guy said stand up and hug?
Oh yes,
it's in there. It's in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like say something nice to the person that. Yeah.
Yep.
We both agreed we had the best haircuts.
Yeah, there you go. So Patrick Mahoney, I met him at the conference. He said the BICSI committee meetings are always open to convention attendees, and they are. That's why I always tell people when I go to those meetings. I always tell them I'm there as an observer. I'm not on the committee, although you can be on the committee. You should be on the committee if you're not. I'm there as an observer. So that's I always make sure I tell people that. Sean, what was your favorite thing out of the entire conference that you really liked?
So I was excited the most, I think, about the expo hall, just getting to meet. I got to meet Todd. I got to meet a lot of the vendors and just see some of the stuff that's coming out. And some of the like the opening keynote speaker, Chris Scott. That was awesome. Just I took a lot away from it.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Todd?
Favorite thing about the concert?
Where were you? There was no concert.
So my favorite thing about BICSI, obviously I'm going to say, because you greased me for it, Chuck, it was running into you. All right. Outside of that, we got some new stuff, and I had this cool little TV that I just bought, and I was able to show our new app on there, and it drew a big crowd, and all the manufacturers were coming over, wanting to see if they can get on board. That to me was very cool. The party hardy stuff, man, that's over. All right. So when those lights go out, yeah, I'm done. So I'd love to say all the parties and the whoop-de-doos and stuff like that. But no, again, introducing new product, meeting new people. That's the other thing too, is that, Chuck, that there's a lot of old cronies out there like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And, we see them every concert or there I go with a concert again. We see them every conference. And it's always good to see them. But you know what? It's good to see the younger folks come up and tell me about what you have, and tell me why you think you're the best. And I always, first and foremost, it's because of my boyish good looks. But then secondly, watching the Cabling Skills Challenge, because brother provides the handheld printers necessary for part of the challenge. So I got to peek in on that a little bit. And then I also got some great footage, and Chuck, you're in that footage, and I just finished editing. I don't know what I'm doing editing, so I hope I got everything that didn't need to be in there. But it was a great conference. So
my favorite thing, and it's hard to classify this because there was a lot of cool things that happened at that conferences for me this year, but my favorite thing was meeting Sean Rep. Because first he saw me in the line signing in the conference, but I was already running like 10 minutes late for a meeting.
You were like the first person I saw too.
Nice,
Like,
nice. He's like, Chuck. And I was like, hey, can we catch up? And then the second time I see him, I'm running between meetings, and you're there with your group, and I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was running late again. So we finally caught up. So yeah, I mean, I think meeting Sean Rep is actually the best thing for me because I mean, just getting to see all the conferences. We tried to do a Toddism this year. Did you see that, Todd? We recorded a live podcast there at the conference.
I did. You know what? I did not. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But
I just posted it. But yeah, we Wise Up podcast, and we did a live podcast there and recorded. And 2 people got to win some pretty cool prizes. I'll just say that. Right.
That's cool.
So Jeff, let me ask you this. Based on what you've seen this year, how's your feelings towards BICSI change, positive or negative?
Well, I mean, it was my first real experience with the organization as a whole. A little bit about me. I spent my first 20 years in the technology education industry. I was a director of technology for a couple private schools. So we have a very similar ISTE conference that I attended, that I would attend every year. So it in a lot of ways it felt the same, but then in a lot of ways it just felt very different as well. So I had some familiarity with a larger convention like we just went to, but I will say in some ways they were totally different.
Yep. So Sean, was the Cabling Skills Challenge what you expected?
So I, listening to your interview with TJ Pate from last year, I kind of prepared myself by listening to that. He was very insightful. It was exactly kind of like he described it. The one thing I wasn't quite prepared for was the very first day going into the written exam. You're going into the written exam with a bunch of people you've never met, you don't know. They tell us that this year they opened it internationally, and so there was some guys there from Japan that had to win the competition in their country to come to this one. And then so the written exam, it was, I mean, I think there was questions about the flux capacitor in there. I mean, it just, I knew there. I was just like, all right. I just started. Luckily, it was multiple choice, so I just kind of picked the one I thought sounded best. But,
right.
So then, then they split us up into groups, and we had different groups had different events. Luckily, I got the copper, which I was most comfortable with. But then I saw they had some of the speed challenges, and TJ and Ratliff, they were doing splices in like 30 seconds. And so,
well, that's what TJ does day in and day out.
Yeah. And then, so just, it was very overwhelming the first night seeing all that.
Well, I bet.
But then, kind of getting to know some of those guys, after the first couple challenges, just kind of hanging out, doing some of the supplementals and the speed challenges. It started to become fun.
Right.
And getting to know some of those guys. And then day 2, it was a lot more laid back. And then the awards banquet was probably the most fun, just getting to hang out with those guys.
Yeah, the awards banquet is fun. Todd, I've never been part of a company that sponsored the Cable Skills Challenge, and you said that brother did that, right?
Yeah. So we've done that the past at least 5 years now.
Tell us a little bit about that process.
So essentially what it is, and I'm only going to talk about the labeling portion,
right.
But there's a waiting list to get in, and I don't need to mention who it is. All right. But my competitors, I mean, it's essentially, we waited our turn. We got the printers in there. I actually came to the first couple of Cabling Skills Challenge and I'd give a brief tutorial on these printers and the easiest way to do, your cable wraps or patch panels or face plates or whatever they were doing. And it got to be where the printers are more or less self-explanatory. And I know if you're looking at something you've never looked at before, it's easy to figure out. But that being said, as long as brother continues to support the BICSI organization and the Cabling Skills Challenge, I think we're going to be there a long time. So we end up furnishing however many stations there are with the PTE 550W and the associated media or the tape, and we're very proud to be part of that.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say the very first time I ever used a brother labeler was during the competition. And I was a little worried about it because I just laid down my two Cat 6 and I had to label the faceplate. So I pulled it out of the box and I was like, I'm not going to make this overcomplicated. I seen a button that said faceplate. I hit that, typed in my numbers I needed, hit print, popped it on. I was like, it was
man.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yep. So Jeff.
Yeah.
You kind of did the whole vacation thing and BICSI thing, and so does Sean. I'm gonna ask Sean the same question, right? Do you think that how do you think that impacted your conference? Did it enhance it, make it a little bit better, or was it kind of like a drawback?
Well, when you invited me to join you, I went home and I said to my wife, well, Chuck asked me to go to this conference in Florida, and I left out the name of the city. And so when she said, well, what city is it in? And Orlando. And before I could even finish the word Orlando, she said, well, we'll all go. And I said, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do it. So, it was, so they got to do things the first couple of days while you and I and all of us were out at the conference. And then, I was able to link up with them on Thursday, and then we flew home Friday. So, it was, it's cool that it's at a pretty unique destination. And then, I'll be real honest. I kept asking Chuck more and more about BICSI, and I didn't realize, I thought it was at the same hotel every year. Come to find out, it alternates and stuff like that. So, but it's always in Orlando. I remember.
Well, they go back and forth between Orlando and Tampa.
Oh, okay.
And then sometimes they change hotels even within Orlando.
Sure. That much I knew, but I didn't know about the Tampa. So, but I think for anyone else looking to do this, it is a nice opportunity to, get away and it's at a great time of the year where you would want to get away too, so especially you didn't have to ask me too hard to come from Rhode Island to Orlando in the middle of, February, January, so the winter. So it was an easy sell for sure.
Let me ask you this. Would you consider ever going back to another BICSI conference?
Yeah. You asked me, I did leave out the expo hall. I love a good expo. That's where I feel like as an installer, I gain the most knowledge. So what I will say, what I really loved about BICSI, and I only knew this because my badge fell apart and I had to go get a new one. And while I was there, I saw a woman paying for just a day pass for the expo center. And I didn't realize that was an option. I thought that was a really awesome in-between. So if you didn't have the time to go to all the workshops and everything, you really couldn't get deep into it. That was that was neat to know that existed. So, next year, if you and I link up and I can't devote as much time, it was nice to know that, I could at least get in there with a day pass and still be a part of the expo center.
And if you know manufacturer, I don't know, Brother Solutions, they can get you a free pass in there sometimes.
Well, Brother's already been very generous to me, so hopefully that can continue. But I would go back. I would go back for the expo center if I only had a day. If I could throw 3 days at it, as a business owner, I will say it was hard to get away for 3 days, but If I could just do the one day, I would do that, and definitely just because I think that was the only way that I think I could get in for a day and just pay for a day pass. Maybe there's other things I don't know about that I could ask you, but I at least know that. I at least know the Expo Center is available for a day pass, and I could see myself easily doing that.
Sean, throwing that first question back up to you, because you kind of made the same thing. You did kind of like a vacation / working thing and stuff. So did your family hang around while you were in the competition, or did they go home?
We came up a week early and we did the whole Disney thing. I took it's the first time I've ever taken more than 5 days off, and I was actually off for 10 days, and so it's taking a little bit to get back in the groove. But basically, same story as Jeff. My boss back in July, he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Cabling Skills Challenge that BICSI does?" And I was like, yeah, I feel like I've trained 20 years for it. I was like, it's kind of been my life goal to at least try it. And he's like, well, if you want to go, you can go. And so I told my wife, and same thing. She's like, where's it at? And I was like, Orlando. And she's like, oh, well, we can all go. So I was like, all right, let's all go. And then, so yeah, they having 3 little kids, they came back before the BICSI started.
It's almost like BICSI kind of thought about that and said, hey, let's do this in a location where they're more likely to come if their spouse is here, that it's in Orlando.
Right.
Well, and I know the whole emphasis is trying to get younger, and I don't. That's a great idea. I mean, you're gonna have younger professionals with young kids, so hopefully they can harp on that.
Todd, you and I are usually working the event, right? Have you ever incorporated a vacation with BICSI?
So these 2 right here, they're still young, Chuck.
They still have hair.
Right.
Dawn does.
So my wife, when she learned I was going to Orlando, she was tickled pink and she said, have fun. And then I came back and she says, hey, when's your next trip? Right. So it's a little bit different after you've been married for as long as I have. So, the whole family thing and getting the younger generation involved in this, I wholeheartedly agree with it, and I think it's a great move on BICSI's part, specifically in Orlando. Now, but you can remember, Chuck, when they had BICSI in Anaheim.
Yes.
Right? That didn't work so well. All right. It did not work so well. And you think, okay, Disney and Universal Studios and Knott's Berry Farm, it didn't work well. Right. No. So I think it's spot on with Orlando. I think for Vegas, when they have it in Vegas, that draws a certain crowd. Now the young folks are more entitled to go. It's not necessarily for these 2 guys, the family getaway, the dream vacation, Las Vegas. But again, I think it's a nice draw for some of the younger folks that don't get a chance to experience lovely Las Vegas. So yeah, Chuck, it's a solo thing. And, my wife's afraid to fly anyway. So, and I'm not driving from Southern California out to Orlando. So, but yeah, it's a great draw.
One of the things that really struck home, Jeff and I were sitting in the standards work group, and Bob Hertling got up, and actually we were sitting in the very back. So he didn't even know we were in the room. We were sitting in the very, very back, and Bob was talking to the people on the panel, and he was talking about, hey, look, we need to get young people in this. We have an installer manual, the ITSA manual, Information Transport Systems Installations Methods Manual, written by a bunch of RCDDs and very few technicians, and that's not right. So I kind of interjected, hey, here's how we do it. And then Bob caught me after and said, hey, let's do this. So him and I got together and did a video, and I posted it out to LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram. And just on LinkedIn alone, I think it has over 2,000 views and 8 reposts. And I've seen 4 or 5 people say, I'm in it, I'm going to do it. So, if you're listening to this and somebody who's a technician, they need that help desperately. They need help desperately. They really do. Because it's a manual written for technicians, but yet they're not getting any input from technicians. you know? And part of that is because a lot of people think that they have to be an RCDD or a BICSI Tech or installer copper, installer fiber to participate. You don't have to be. You don't even have to be a BICSI member. There's a lot of people in this industry who don't have certifications, who don't have that membership, who are just as smart as anybody on this screen right now, including me. There's some smarter than me. Yeah. So if you know people, get them out there, get them involved, and that's the industry needs it, because you don't want an industry full of people like me and Todd. You just don't. Although Todd is a very amusing person, I will give him that.
You know what? And we go back to the old party days, Chuck, and when I was much younger, and I'm now convinced that libation I was drinking was, part of it was embalming fluid. And the younger generation is the future. And when I'm out on the road and I'm teaching 606 and I'm talking to the older folks that are on their way out, and then the younger folks, I'm basically, it's a career. It is a career, and you can do a lot of things in this career. I started off installing, and then I've worked with distribution, and I was a manufacturer rep, and I am now working for the past 15, 17 years for a manufacturer. So you got to start somewhere. And again, what I stress is that it is, yes, it's a job, right? But if you continue down the path, it really does become a career.
Right.
And there's the income is what you want when you get to that point, or what you earn. I mean, but start somewhere. Learn the business first, and that's what I always stress to even my son. My son works at a national distributor, and I said, son, you really should learn the business from the ground up. And I said, I would recommend going to work for a company in Phoenix for a while. And he just short of doing that, but him basically going and talking and learning how to install and stuff like that is enhanced with sales. So young folks, this is a career.
It's funny you say that, because we just had that conversation on TikTok with somebody talking about the difference between job and a career. And you'd be surprised how many people have negative associations with that. So just around. So we're 2 minutes left. Around the room. Jeff, are you going to go to a future BICSI conference?
Yeah, definitely.
Sean, you going to a future BICSI conference?
Yes. I'll be back next year.
Nice. Todd?
Well, as long as they continue to pay me to do it, Chuck, I'll be there.
See, I'll be there. Here's the thing. I've usually my company pays for me to go there, but sometimes they don't, because it's a big company. They can't send everybody out one shot. Even when I don't go, I pay for myself to go. Now, luckily, I don't have to do the whole.
Orlando's a long way, dude. I'll go to Vegas, but
no. See, I like the Orlando conference better, because that's the year end. That's the awards banquet. That's when all the manufacturers come out with the new stuff. I've been to the Vegas conference before, twice, and I'm just not a big Vegas person. You're right. I don't gamble, so there you go. So, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys coming on today, and see you at the next BICSI conference.
Sounds good.
Yep. Thanks. It was great meeting both of you guys. It was a real honor. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely. Till next time, everybody. Remember,
see you soon at the
Tech Fest. Yes.
You registered. Great.
Nashville. Yep.
Thank you.
How far is Nashville for you?
Oh, I saw you registered for the cookout.
I did.
Yeah. Nashville for me? I don't know.
No. For Sean. Sean's Kansas City.
It's an 8-hour drive.
That might be too long. Okay.
Take the family.
There you go.
I've heard there's stuff to do in Nashville.
There you go. Yes, there is. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Till next time. Knowledge is